The next day. I will start explaining again, Adrian, if that's alright, she said. It would be about something important that happened and... Yeah, I said. In late 2013, men started dying from unknown causes. Since 2016, only baby girls are born. And by 2020, there were only about 500 men still alive. Today, you are the only man living that we know of. What? Okay, I'm completely speechless after that. Wow. Do you need something? Would you like water? I could not speak. I concentrated on breathing deeply and shook my head to let Valerie know I was alright. She walked slowly with me, until I asked her if we could go back. He's an only man on the earth. Wow. Summer 2027. A new sanatorium. Room 275. I come by every day now, just after my breakfast. This room. It was full of flowers and probably thousands of letters. All of them were for me. Yeah, I wonder why. An hour later I had an appointment with an ophthalmologist, whoever it is. She came to the sanatorium regularly because I noticed that my eyesight had gotten worse since I'd regained consciousness half a year ago. Additionally, she came to ask questions and do some tests to try and understand my loss of color vision. I found out from her that following the series of meteorological phenomena from late 2013 to early 2015, they were named the Aurora Fall. People's eyesight had been getting worse, even people who had eyesight problems before. By glasses prescriptions had to be strengthened, usually between 1 or 2 dioptries. Very few people were not wearing glasses now. Everyone was saying that I was getting better these days, and I was hoping that I could go back home soon. The preparations were already underway and I was taking a walk with a social worker to discuss the details with her. Today she handed me the keys to my old apartment. They'd put in a new lock according to the new procedures from when the death started, and every person's living quarters had been opened and checked. We also talked about where I would work. Normally work was regulated and people were choosing from predetermined positions, but I could choose to return to the environmental department. After a while, we had gone through all the new developments regarding my going back home. I'd been hoping it would only take a week or two. My sense of color was also coming back at times. These days, it was more and more frequently. This morning I felt really well and started running. Through the gate, down to the side path, across the small bridge into the forest, and back through the other gate. Then I turned around and ran the path backwards. I ran until I was back through the main gate and inside the courtyard. It was exhausting, but I felt it was accelerating the return of my color vision. I took a short nap, and later in the afternoon when I went for a walk, I felt like it was all back. Within a few days, my vision was back, permanently it seemed. It was my last day here. In the morning I took a short walk and packed everything up before lunch. I arranged for a taxi to take me and, before I left, said goodbye to all the staff. It was very emotional for me, from the first goodbye to the last one. I was crying. I looked back one last time before getting in the taxi. Home. I opened my eyes once again to finally see familiar surroundings. It was my apartment. It was just as I'd left it. The power and water supply had been restored, and the other apartments were all uninhabited. I liked this because it gave me space. On my way home, with a suitcase on wheels, which I pulled behind me, I was being looked at. This was also because I was holding the last flowers I'd gotten as gifts in my hand. But the suitcase was a practical thing, and they said at the hospital they didn't need it, and that I could take it. Inside it was medication and some clothes the hospital had provided me with. There were more flowers and letters left behind, but the hospital staff said they would deliver them to me by van tomorrow. I thanked them for that, and we agreed to meet at 8:30. I closed my eyes again. I knew I could do nothing more than to start to cry. All this had happened, and I was alone. I thought I'd called someone I knew, but there was no one. I knew only May, and I was afraid to call her because, I don't know, maybe I wanted to call when I get a bit better. And I also had Aglaya's numbers, but she was in Oka working. I didn't want to disturb her evening. I had other numbers, the hospital, social services, and others, but what would calling them help? I was afraid to turn on the television, because I didn't know what would be on. Maybe the news. Maybe I would be on the news, but maybe not. The apartment was so empty. It was full of many things, but it was so quiet, and I didn't know what to do. I walked into my room and saw all my things, all my collections, and my model airplanes. But I felt so distant. It didn't feel like coming home at all. I took off my clothes and went to take a shower. It took some time for the warm water to start flowing, and I just stood there, looking around. Without my glasses, it was all so blurry, and colors were melding into each other. I felt like I wanted to cry again, but I couldn't. I would have loved to, but I just felt the emptiness, and nothing else. I started to look at myself, my skin, how the water ran off my hands, the small drops that formed on the shower door, and how they disappeared when I ran my hand over them. The clouds of hot steam inside the shower, how I got slowly more and more dizzy from the warmth. As I came out of the shower, I had no power to do anything anymore. I just went to bed thinking. I wanted to get organized, get to know more about everything. I felt I didn't know anything, things just seemed to work differently. I would start tomorrow. I almost overslept and nearly missed the delivery of my flowers and letters. I had the girls carry them upstairs, but told them to leave the flowers and letters in the hallways. I was told no one was living here, so I could safely leave them there. The boxes of letters. I also told them to leave in the halls, but I would carry them into my apartment later. I didn't get all the flowers delivered, because some of them were already faded, so I only got the freshest. We agreed they would come twice a week in case there were new letters or flowers at the sanatorium, but that they would redirect the flowers and other mail to my home address. The social services department has already offered several times to screen my mail and take out potentially unsuitable letters, or ones that could have a negative impact on me. I declined their offer. I kept all the notes that came with the flowers. I had a guilty conscience about throwing flowers away, even though they were fading, so I always took a picture of the ones I was going to throw away. My camera. I'd had it with me since the hospital. It was one of the things that they'd found in the backpack that I'd taken with me, along with my apartment keys and ID cards. Walk outside. Walk outside or home. Home? I'm not sure if it's a good idea. Today I wanted to spend my day in the forest just outside the city. The area is a national park called Purple Peaks. Didn't I say home? It's just 2 train stops away from the city, and so I got there in 20 minutes. The day was mostly sunny with occasional clouds, which made it convenient for me. There was a hill, the rock summit, that I wanted to go to the top of, and from there one could see Thistle Lake. I took a small backpack along with just the bare minimum of things, like a small snack and some water. Talking of the water, I need to drink some. It was a little cooler than I had anticipated. No, I can't come back. Often there was no path at all, so I needed to be very careful where I stepped. Somehow it was all just I'd imagined. I wanted to feel my legs hurt, I wanted to feel my breathing get fast, and I wanted to feel the cuts on my hands and arms. As I progressed, I felt I was able to hear much more from the forest, the rustling of the trees, the noise all the plants made them when they touched me, and I began to smell the moss on the ground and the trees around. Not only did I feel the cuts and scratches I had, I also felt the dirt on me. As I started to reach the more difficult parts of the hill, I felt I could now feel the air around me when I moved my hands. I overclicked again. They were wet because, my hands were something. Okay, yeah, I don't know. They were wet because of all the moss on the rocks, and when I stopped to catch my breath, or prepare for the next part of the hill, looking for places where I could safely climb up, I felt the heat on my own body and the slight breeze that cooled me down. In front of my eyes, I had nothing but imaginary paths up, which formed in my mind. And then I saw Thistle Lake. Beautiful place. I sat down on one of the rocks and breathed deeply. The path back down would be difficult. Okay, don't overclick it. I have been here for a week now, in a region known as Capri's and Four Faces. Capri's and Four Faces was located in the middle of the main forest range of Legion province. Apart from being a popular retreat location, it was considered especially therapeutic for patients with various illnesses. The doctors recommended this place when I told them I wanted to change my surroundings for a month or two. I liked my trip to the mountains near Cape Mimoli, and I thought I should spend some more time in such places. I thought I would go on daily hikes, but I quickly ended up just taking walks around the sanatorium complex, which was unusually extensive. I've heard that the complex was once one of the largest hospitals in Carpia. I think that at one point it was even the largest. But it gradually transformed into a sanatorium, and many of the previous facilities had been moved to more accessible locations. Falling asleep that night, I thought about many of the things that had already happened to me. Like when I'd collapsed in the laundry room and people helped me. Or whenever I would get on a bus, people would offer me a seat almost instinctively. And when I recently visited the Memorial of the Mist, where all the lives of the men who had died were honored, and on my way there saw a woman with 2 rings on her left ring finger.